start this looking around.
Yeah. Can we do the entire pod just like with our backs turned to the camera?
All right, gamers, we're back with another, for some reason, just another spooky one.
Why do you fucking hate me?
Don't look at me. I didn't recommend this
You
movie.
both hate me.
All I did was made a list of every noticeable anniversary coming out this year, and James immediately gravitated towards the Blair Witch Project.
Why do you hate me, James?
Because I like horror.
Oh, good. Great.
Yeah, James is a big horror fan. So yeah, if you can't tell, we just recently watched the Blair Witch Project, a movie that is somewhat loosely based on real events. We'll get to that in a little bit. The making of this movie is very fun. James, why do you like this movie so much? Why do you continue to torture Connor?
Yeah, James.
I first watched this when I was in high school. I think I might have been even younger. And I don't remember much of it. I remember learning about the making of, which interested me. I found that fascinating, the way that they made this film. But I don't remember much of the movie itself. And I think I was initially kind of turned off by the found footage aspect. I think I watched this shortly after Paranormal Activity came out, so found footage was like becoming a mainstay genre. You had stuff like the Paranormal Activity movies, Cloverfield, The Last Exorcism, stuff like that, which I ended up becoming a big fan of that genre. So that led to me coming back and rewatching this film with you guys here to reappreciate its origins.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember much of my experience watching this for the first time. This movie was a lot scarier than I remember it being.
It's definitely a little creepy.
Yeah.
My heart was genuinely racing by the end of this film, and I knew exactly what happened and how they made it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say because I know a lot about like peek behind the GM screen.
Yeah.
A lot of it was the like directors messing with the talent.
Yeah.
So I knew like it's not a real human being. It's just the director. And I even looked up the directors while we were watching, and I was like, it's just this guy. It's just this guy.
Yeah.
And even still, I was like at the end, I wasn't scared, but I was definitely like, yo, some stuff's going down.
Yeah, because like this is one of the rare instances where I actually knew something about this movie coming in, because I have seen or learned about the making of. As I told James, like I appreciate horror stories. I don't appreciate experiencing horror stories. And so like I've watched synopsi. I don't know how you say that.
Summaries.
Summaries, that works. And like just things about like these kind of films. And I watched the one about the Blair Witch like a couple months ago. It's like I'm coming in like almost even fresh, being like, oh yeah, I know exactly how this made. I know how they did this. I know what each point's gonna be. Like I knew who died in what order, and I still was just like, I mean, we don't have recordings of it, but I was when the movie ended. And I was like, what? I was like, this death gripping the pillow that I was holding.
As soon as we hit the first night, the jokes out of Connor's mouth just stopped. Yeah, and I think I tried to make a joke just to like, because I could feel like Connor like tensing up next to me. And so I tried to make a joke, and I could just hear Connor go, and I was like, oh, I should probably. And so I just started like watching Connor more than I was watching the movie in a way.
There was one point, I won't say exactly what it was, because it's technically spoiler territory. But
it's a 25-year-old movie.
Fair. When they found the bundle with the dude's parts.
Oh, that part, like yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I opened my mouth to say something and nothing came out. I think I was gonna make like oh man, like he ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3 again.
Yeah.
It was just nothing.
Nothing. No, it's a very. I mean, I think it says a lot that 25 years later, someone who has seen this movie a lot, someone who knows about the history of the movie like pretty extensively, and then you kind of a mix of both.
Yeah.
Like the fact that all three of us were still freaked out by the end of it. Not full on. Well, for me at least, not full on terrified.
Good for you.
But like still creeped out.
Fancy McGee over here.
Brain rot. I think that I think is gonna be its biggest legacy.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, well,
because
its biggest legacy nowadays, this movie already has its legacy cemented based off of not just how it was made, but how it was marketed.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if whatever video you watched talked about this.
A little bit.
This movie premiered at Sundance Film Festival under the guise that it was recovered footage.
Yeah.
And the directors had created a website that listed out the lore behind the Blair Witch, which they just made up themselves, but also behind the 3 actors. And they made missing posters for them. They had them do no media ahead of the film's release.
Didn't they pay them to go missing for a year or something like that? Like, don't.
You might be thinking of Cannibal Holocaust. I don't know if they did that for this movie, though.
Okay.
Cannibal
Yeah.
Holocaust did that first.
I think so.
And I think that was definitely an inspiration on this film. After this movie was released, though, the actors, of course, became public. People
Figures,
knew who
yeah.
they were. But it was a combination of hiding the actors and setting it up to be real recovered footage of real people who went missing, and using the internet to market it, using websites, forums where people would talk about, hey, guys, I just saw this crazy film, and then other people would be like, well, I got to check this out now too, because this movie would be selling out before it even would end up showing in theaters. And so that's really the big legacy of this film, is it was the first quote-unquote viral marketing for a movie. Viral in the way that we think of it, using the internet.
Did this movie start the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
This movie is the reason why every movie nowadays has to have its own Twitter account.
Yeah. Its own website.
Dude, the Blair Witch Twitter goes crazy.
That's the real legacy of this film.
Yeah.
The second legacy of this movie is the fact that the actors suffered horribly during the production of this movie. They were given Post-it notes telling them what direction to walk, but they weren't told anything else. Even the scene where they get lost and circle back to a place they had already been was not planned by the directors at all. They did not intend for that to happen either. That was just pure chance, which is insane.
Yeah.
They hid speakers in the woods to play those noises. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the actors knew it was a fake horror movie, but they didn't know
The details.
what was going. Yeah, they're playing characters who are wannabe documentarians, and that's who they are. But the filmmakers, I think it was a 30-page outline that the directors gave them, and were like, "All right, this is what's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen, but here are the rules. All right, here's a pack. Go hiking in the woods."
They also didn't tell them that the Blair Witch was made up.
Yeah.
The actors thought that it was a real legend.
Oh, okay.
And all of the people in the town who they meet ahead of time were prepped prior with stories to tell them about the Blair Witch. So that just added to the actors', I want to say performance, but at this point it's
It almost
it's
wasn't.
just-
It's very
Yeah.
much blurring a line.
Yeah,
it's
a
just
line.
pure behavior at
Yeah.
this point instead of acting, which I know that Heather, the actress whose real name is Heather, is no longer in acting
she stopped,
at all.
right? Yeah.
She stopped, but I also know that Josh and Mike, they are still working actors to this day as well.
It's got to be an experience.
Yeah.
It was only an 8-day shoot, which is
Well, I mean, they were only out there for 8 days before they got caught. So.
Yeah,
yeah, it's very impressive stuff.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, as you were watching it, knowing what you knew, because if you knew the production ahead of time, you know those parts are the directors.
Yeah, I know they're
messing with
fake.
them. But what was it about it you think that really locked in for you, where you stopped making jokes and started getting scared?
Well, it stopped being funny for one, because we were
Yeah.
cracking jokes because the script at the start was very funny. They were lackadaisical. They were just
Yeah.
having a good time. It's Isaac and I were just playing along with it. We were like, yeah, it's just fun. It's. I
They
think
had,
at one point I
w-
even said I was like, I thought you said this was a horror movie, not a comedy, and
Famous last words.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then stuff started happening, and I was like, oh no.
I might have spoke too soon.
Yeah, I think it's really just it boils down to the realness of it. Like you said, it stopped being acting.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't I mean, you can, but like it's hard to act those kind of like visceral, guttural feelings and screams like that. Like
even
like,
the arguments between
I
them.
think
Yeah.
I was gonna say even less like the second time they get into an argument about which way to go. I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I knew they were actually mad at each other, but I was like, oh shit, they're like
mad
actually
at each other.
mad
like,
at
like this
each
is
other.
no longer acting.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
think
yeah.
they're actually
and
lost.
you could
like,
definitely see, yeah, because in the beginning, right, they're playing characters.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like a time capsule. Like, oh, hey,
Hit
who's
TV.
us? You
Yeah.
know, and then once they start, it's like, oh, they drop the facade of acting, and they're like real life people now.
And I think that's what it was. Is it
Yeah.
boiled down to I was like this, and then like obviously like the way it was shot, it being found footage and stuff like that, makes everything a little bit more real. But because it had no real effects to it either, there's a lot of found footage movies now. Like it's found footage, but like you can see that there's editing on it, right?
Yeah.
And stuff. It's like okay, whatever. This literally looked like somebody found a freaking old VHS recorder in the woods, popped out the tape, and put it in your machine.
I definitely think, and this is both to this movie's credit and perhaps detriment, because as found footage has become like an actual codified genre with its own separate tropes, you can definitely tell that one element that they did not take from the Blair Witch was to show you things.
Yeah.
You know that this film is improvised because the characters walk into the house at the end, see all the stuff on the walls, and just don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Where for a fact that in a modern found footage film, they would be like, what's all this stuff on the walls here, over here, and over here? And the actors are like, just get me out of here.
Yeah, the actor's like, we gotta find our bro, we gotta get out. Like,
Yeah.
Um,
Which is funny because the directors wrote a lot of lore for the Blair Witch.
Yeah.
There are not only sequel films, but there's like almost an extended universe for the Blair Witch as well.
Blair Witch
They have
extended
so
universe.
much mythology
canon
behind
anymore,
it
James.
that didn't show up. But nevertheless.
Yeah, because like that's also that's my one fun fact about this film that I enjoy. Was that when they're running through the woods at night, and she like turns and it's just like pitch black. She's like, "What is that?" Like the actor saw something. There was actually a thing there.
Yeah.
And just the camera couldn't pick that up. And I was like, I think that's better because like they're like,
Yeah.
like it was just like our director in like a wig or something. And I'm like, that wouldn't have really been. I mean, it would have been scary.
It's
but
one of
like,
those happy
her
accidents.
us not seeing it is like even worse because you can just imagine what the heck they're seeing.
Do you feel like a movie like this then could come out today?
I was gonna ask that question.
No.
Go ahead.
No. No,
Yeah, Isaac.
yeah, no.
No.
No, but that was the first question I was thinking of while we were watching this.
No, I don't think anything that could be as like good as this because it's already kind of happened. I think it would have to be something in its own vein. Like I think of like never mind, I don't think of anything apparently. I got nothing.
I don't think it could happen, not because of like how the movie's made. I think the marketing is the more important thing. Because nowadays you could just be like, Heather Donahue, is she alive? Question
Yeah.
mark and Google, and it's like, yeah, she's alive. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when Google came out in 2005, and I just went, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre real? That movie immediately was like,
Less scary.
yeah.
So marketing aside, though, I'm interested. Do you think, based on how the film is made, let alone how it's shot?
Oh, how it's shot? Yeah, easily.
I don't think so. I don't think
I
modern
don't think you could-
audiences would sit through something like this at
That's
all.
kind of I'm with James is that it's because that's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking necessarily marketing or like scare factor because I think there are probably better marketed movies now and better scary movies now. Because in terms of like actual like fear,
Ooh, I don't know about that.
we'll
get there.
Just depends on your definition.
We'll get there.
But like, what was I gonna say? But like actual like how the movie looks and is shot, like I mentioned earlier, there wasn't any real editing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only editing I can really like that my brain was like, oh, I immediately spot this as they're doing this post, was at the very, very end, her audio track is coming from the handheld camera versus the like big
The
spinning
one that
camera.
she's holding, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well then they clearly spliced that together. But like everything else,
Yeah.
I'm sure there was post editing. But you really can't tell.
Yeah.
And like modern movies, there's way, way more post editing, even in these found footage kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think anything they would just be like, okay, we're just gonna shoot it, and whatever happens, happens. Like they're gonna go back and fix things. That's just how it is now. So I think that's the part where I'm like, this movie could never be made today.
Yeah, I think it's also a part of when we think about. I don't want to necessarily use the term modern filmmaking, but as filmmaking has progressed, how we understand what we show the audience and how we show it. For example, there's a scene where, take any of the scenes where like Heather, for example, is crying, right? Nowadays, we understand the character would set down the camera and face it and would start crying, and you would have that, kind of full body shot.
She'd make sure her hair and makeup look good, and then she'd upload to TikTok.
Maybe too modern. I don't think cinema's there yet. Hopefully never one day. But that's the kind of thing that, whether it's writers or directors, don't see that anymore. We as an audience might say, oh, that's to the realism of it. But a lot of these films aren't shooting for realism either.
Yeah.
To begin with, I don't think anybody's seeing something like The Last Exorcist, for example, or As Above, So Below, which is a good, those are great found footage movies. I love both of those movies. But I definitely think our approach to horror filmmaking and what audiences like to see has evolved past what the Blair Witch Project did. So marketing aside, I don't think you could make this film today because it's not shot in a way that I think audiences appreciate any longer, let alone appreciate, would sit through.
Yeah.
Because do you guys get motion sickness?
There was one point where Rising and I both had to look away. Yeah, and we both were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the shaky cam, again, it's real, but I was just like,
yeah.
This is why I turn motion blur off in video games.
I don't get motion sickness watching stuff, so I appreciate. I've gone on record saying I like shaky cam anyway. So
I was gonna say this is right up your alley.
Yeah. Hey, it can look cool, and I appreciate it, but it does make me sick sometimes.
All right, in terms of found footage, there's a wide plethora of. I think I used that word right. A wide range of movies.
You used the right word. You just put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
There's a lot of movies with the found footage style. In terms of that, rank them.
Every single one of them.
Yeah. Rank your
I don't think I've seen all of them.
Rank your favorite, just the ones you've watched. Rank your
two.
So what are they? It's not that hard of a question.
It's just. All right, you guys start first, and then I'll cap end it.
Out of the plethora of found footage movies that I have
What did I say,
watched,
plethora?
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
When you're trying to go buy some makeup, so you hit a plethora.
Nice one.
Thanks.
Blair Witch is at least top 3, easily. It's actually scary, which when you're watching a lot of found footage movies, you're thinking about those moments where there's obvious editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be sometimes tough to suspend that disbelief.
Yeah.
Because if I'm supposed to sit here and watch this and think this is meant to be real footage captured by another person, why are, even in films, I actually recently watched As Above, So Below, and there's a scene where they're in the nightclub and there's cuts as they're moving through the crowd, but the music stays consistent through each cut.
I know exactly what
you're talking about. I've seen that in a handful of found footage movies before.
Because I've also seen that film actually, and I had the same thought process exactly. What happened. I was like, hold up. Yeah. They do that a couple times in that film too. So.
Yeah, they do actually.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie.
It's actually, I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Good film.
It is a good film.
Oh.
Connor stamp of approval.
Which is a rare well, I guess I've appreciated every horror movie I watched. I just don't enjoy watching them. Anyway.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Cloverfield would probably be either my number 1 or 2, though.
Yeah, Cloverfield's so
honestly.
Don't make me watch that.
Now we're going to watch it.
If you get motion sickness, I would not recommend Cloverfield. Outright.
It's not that scary.
It's not a horror film at all.
Well, it is a little scary. Don't go lying to the man. Don't go lying.
Guys, they're going to kill me someday. I'm not going to make it.
No, Cloverfield's a very good movie. It's a very good found footage movie. Very similar to this one, I would think, where you don't actually see the monster, except in Cloverfield you see it at the end. But it's fun.
throughout.
It's a disaster movie.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. If you like Godzilla,
I mean, I do love giant monsters, and
Yeah.
I know enough.
Yeah,
about
just
Cloverfield to know
imagine
it's
you're
giant
not
monsters.
Godzilla or like a named protagonist. You are literally the extra that dies. And that's the perspective you have
Yeah,
in,
that's fun.
in Cloverfield.
now just imagine that, but you can't see anything on screen.
Yeah.
That's Cloverfield.
90% of horror.
I'm
movies
going to
touch
throw
it.
one in there.
Go ahead.
Chronicle.
Chronicle is a great, underrated, underappreciated.
Such a good movie.
Remind me of that one again.
It's the one about the kids who get telekinesis.
The 3 high
powers.
schoolers who basically become Superman and one of them turns evil.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I think I have seen that.
Then they
Yeah.
fight. Yeah, spoiler. They fight downtown Seattle, and the literal last shot is like he takes a bunch of like javelins from a statue or something. I don't know.
We have a friend
It's
from
a
high school who used to
very-
be obsessed with that film.
It's-
Yes,
for a short period
Frank
of time.
made us watch it.
Yeah. Did he?
Yeah, he did.
It's a good
yeah.
movie.
Okay, I was like, I know this sounds so familiar. Why do I remember this?
It's basically if Superman became bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, that premise has been done to death.
Yeah, but it does it cool.
No, I know, yeah. But I'm just
That's a good one too. That's a
Yeah.
good one
Chronicle's
because
good,
the guy uses his telekinesis to lift the camera, so it excuses away
yeah.
some of those like sweeping dolly shots
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
You're like, wait. Or it even cuts to like people in the crowd sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think there's one or two of like high school bullies or something, or like high schoolers at a party.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
While we are bringing up found footage stuff that's not horror related, Project X,
I was gonna name that
which
one.
would
That
probably
one
be
is
your
my
number
favorite.
one.
In terms of found footage movies, it does it so well.
Project
that's
X.
the party movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
haven't seen
all they did, they threw a party on the Warner Brothers lot and
Yeah.
gave all the extras a flip phone camera
it.
and
let
just
him go
said
ham.
record. They went through all the footage and they just spliced together. Like obviously the main
Respect.
actors are
Yeah,
walking
yeah,
around
yeah,
with a
they're
camera,
doing their thing, yeah.
but like for like the actual party scenes, it's all just from flip phone cameras in
Sick.
2008. It's
what I like
actually
to see,
really
yeah.
well done.
That's ingenuity that I appreciate seeing.
Yeah,
Not my favorite found footage film, but that is definitely one to
it helps
mention.
too that the director was a music video director, so like it's basically an extended music video of
Yeah, you
multiple
could think of it that way.
songs, and I think it just works very well.
Yeah. It also has probably Miles Teller's best performance, where he just plays himself.
Yeah,
If we're talking
Arizona
about
State second baseman, remember?
real, like horror found footage, there is an Australian movie called Lake Mungo, which you might laugh at the name, but it does the documentary style like to a T, where literally it could be any like, documentary that you would watch on Netflix about a missing person, like a true crime documentary essentially.
Yeah.
It's a little different from your normal found footage film because it doesn't rely on the jump scares that the genre
Kinda
overly
known for,
relies
yeah.
on, but it is more about the suspense behind these people's action and the mystery behind who is really doing, quote unquote, the scary stuff in the room, So that is definitely one worth mentioning. I know that r/found footage loves that movie, so I watched it based off of their recommendation.
The one thing good Reddit's good for.
Yeah, movie recommendations.
What about an end of watch?
End of Watch is a...
You've seen that one, right?
Yeah, I've seen that one. Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's about cops in L.A. And it's all
It's
from
their
the
body
It's from the
cams.
body cams. Really well done. There are some moments I will say where it's like a wide shot, and you're like,
Yeah.
Hold up.
"Fuck, did the camera get up there
It
for?"
does have probably the best opening monologue, though.
Oh, that's good.
You might hear, if you cut me, I will bleed. Yeah, that's just been burned into my memory. So what I'm hearing is that you love found footage stuff that's not horror related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I say the idea of just like a handheld camera that somebody's just recording and they're just having
If
to
it's
record
done
that's
well.
great. Yeah.
If it's
done
like my sophomore year 200 project level of quality.
well, yeah, but
That's a completely different.
That's a different story.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
and like for me, it makes a lot of like horror movies specifically scarier because then like even though you know it's fake, you're like, oh, it's got that state of like some dude with a camera. It's creepy. I'm not.
Well, we've talked about, you and I are both big fans of Marble Hornets.
Yeah.
That's old school.
I think that's part of why I also like took off on Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Was because it's that same kind of style with Marble Hornets where it's a lot of just like the scary part isn't the monster. The scary part is like just the people
The
reacting to the monster and the anticipation that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Suspense.
Yeah. And while not necessarily found footage in the most legitimate sense, also I think of Kane Pixel's backroom videos or his latest
Any kind of analog horror.
analog like that, where it's the same thing, where it's like, you know, the anticipation of it is significantly creepier and scarier than the actual monster itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's it. For me, that's more in the same realms of like copy pastas.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, you know, or like r/no sleep, stuff like that.
Well, I wouldn't. I feel like that's kind of insulting to the. Can't really put no sleep on there as if it's got any place to stand, but
Fair enough.
Where does this rank in horror movies for you guys?
this is peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, okay.
In your limited
The
experience.
horror movie genre as a whole.
From what I've seen, and what I've been able to stomach, this probably will give me nightmares tonight, which means that it ranks high for me.
I was gonna
I was
ask
gonna
you,
say.
how many have you seen actually?
Well, I was gonna ask you: are you ranking them in terms of quality or in terms of scariness?
Yeah.
Both.
Both.
It's got to be both. Because
Okay.
like it's the same
Okay.
thing with like
The Exorcist was not scary for
The
you.
Exorcist was not scary. It
Yeah.
was really good.
was
well
well
made. I respect it what it does,
Yeah.
but it was not a scary film for me. But like for me, like I think like probably for me like the pinnacle of like this was peak horror in both well made and scare factor.
Venn
I think
diagram.
yeah, the circle
Yeah.
would be Alien. 'Cause that-
Interesting.
That is still a film that I think back of having watched where it sticks with me.
Yeah.
Like I can still vividly remember parts of that like that movie without having watched it in ages.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talked about it during the game where I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, here's my story about me leaping
Leaping
back.
backwards.
Make sure to go watch those videos, please.
Yeah, go watch those. And stuff. So like to me, and I would say that the Blair Witch is probably sitting up there with it.
Yeah.
Because like I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
Would you watch the sequel?
Is that because of this, or is that because you're planning on getting drunk?
If I got drunk, I'd go to bed.
Yeah,
I
fair
don't know
enough.
if I want to watch the sequel, James. I'm gonna be so real.
It's directed by the same guy who did Godzilla X Kong.
That
What?
doesn't instill confidence
Yeah.
in me anymore.
That's
I am
so
no longer
funny.
worried about it being scary. I'm just now worried about you making me watch a bad movie.
That's so funny.
Fair enough.
That's so funny. What about for you?
Where is this rank for me?
Yeah.
Having rewatched it now, because last time I rewatched this was the first time I ever watched it. So this is only the second time I've ever seen it. And it was just as scary
The first
as
time.
I would have thought it would have been. Because I didn't remember anything the first time.
Yeah.
Even back then, I was like, I didn't think it was scary at all, for the most part. But no, this movie was definitely a lot
Yeah.
scarier than I remember
Yeah.
ever thinking that it was going to be. Because I did a lot of research on this, and man, you guys know I love like good endings to movies. That's the entire reason I made you guys watch Chinatown.
Yeah.
The ending of this, that last shot, perfect.
That's what I was thinking. Was that
You're gonna wake up in the middle of the night, and that's just gonna be in the corner of your room.
I was thinking that
Why
too.
would you
I
put
was
that
like,
evil
how
on
are they
me?
gonna end this movie? They
Yeah.
can't just have like them get dragged off into the woods. Like that's whack. So I'm very glad
And
it
it's
ended.
great too because when they're interviewing earlier in the film, one of the interviewees talks about how they would take the children and
Yeah.
he would make one stand in the corner
Yeah.
and look away while he killed the other one.
Yeah.
It's set up perfectly,
Mhm.
even though they
It was-
didn't know that ending before a few
Yeah,
days.
it
into
was
the
a
shot.
real Chekhov's gun situation.
Yeah. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that it's funny that you brought up Chinatown because I was having that thought while we were setting it up, where I was like, this film had a big Chinatown feel, where it was like the first half is a whole lot of nothingness, and then you get to the back half, like the final like 20 minutes, and you're like, "Whoa,
A
this
lot
was totally
happens.
worth it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except like better.
If you missed that pod, Connor did not like Chinatown. Basically, Connor did not like Chinatown.
Anyway.
Well, I'm glad that you guys thought it was scary.
Yeah.
Because
I'm still scared. I'm actively shaking. I don't know if you've
All right,
noticed.
calm down. Calm down.
Like, the mic has not been stable this
It's
entire
not that scary.
Record, REC. It's a Argentine film. I believe it's
Oh,
Argentine. It might be
Wreck.
Spanish, actually.
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes,
It's
yes,
Spanish,
yes.
Yeah, that movie. I've never seen the American remake, which is called Quarantine, I believe. But the original Spanish film, also a great found footage
Very
film.
creepy.
Yes, very, very
So I've heard,
creepy.
yeah.
Also has a very, very intense ending as well. A lot more than I thought it was going to be.
We didn't even mention like the cousin of this movie. I guess more like the offspring. Paranormal Activity.
So I don't really like those movies.
I didn't say we have to like them.
No.
to talk about
We don't have to like them, and I know that the first Paranormal Activity is partially almost entirely responsible for the new wave of found footage
Yeah.
that we had in the 2010s. But man,
Unfriended.
those Unfriended.
That movie's so dumb. I tried to watch it with one of my cousins one time. She was like 12, and she was like, I was like, dude, just turn the computer off.
Cyberbullying isn't real. Just shut their computer off.
Freaking
Anyways,
Megan is
sorry.
missing.
Yeah.
Those movies are boring to me. They really are.
I think I've seen like 2 of them.
I've seen like 4 of them, almost all of them.
I'm not a big fan of the whole house possession trope.
Just in general.
Unless it's something like Conjuring that's just made so well, where I'm like watching this more than just for the spooks. I'm not a big fan of it. Both A, because it's freaky to me that a house could be haunted, but also B, I just don't find them to be
Right.
good. Like I'd rather watch a slasher. That's just me personally.
There's an extent, though, I feel like found footage has to be really specific, especially found footage horror, where you have to know your genre, which is to say the kind of horror film that you're making. But because you're found footage, you have to lean into the real people experiencing this as a real person would.
Yeah.
And some of the Paranormal Activity movies, in my opinion, they just lean into the tropes of horror a little too heavily for my take. Like there's the person who believes all of it, and there's the one person who denies all of it, and stuff like that. Like I don't know. The second Paranormal Activity movie was pretty good. I remember seeing that in theaters.
Which one's that one?
Paranormal Activity 2.
No, which one? Which characters are in that one? Because there's one with like this obnoxious boyfriend who spends the night, and I was like, this is so stupid.
I don't remember that in the second
Yeah,
one. But
okay.
I think I know it was a husband and wife and perhaps a dog, and they were in the house. And I
Okay.
remember they had a pool, and the little thing that cleaned the pool jumped out of the pool at one point. And I remember that specifically because it happened at our house.
Oh, that's creepy.
Oh,
Like,
I would have.
the
I
night
would have myself.
afterwards.
No, so the Paranormal Activity I watched, it had the. Do you remember the Kinect? How it had that motion sensor?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could, like, basically break your Kinect and have the motion sensor like light up through.
Yeah, it's.
You can see it through the camera. It's infrared.
It's a DOS protector. Yeah.
Or whatever, right? So they did that, right? And they were looking through the camera, and then like they saw it move, and I was like, "Mom, I don't want to connect after all."
Yeah.
The TV show Ghost Adventures, they do that.
yeah.
That's one of the devices.
a
that
DOS
they
projector,
use.
yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
cool.
pretty cool.
I think it's bullshit, but I think it's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, it's
Ghost
completely-
Adventures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Full disclosure: huge Ghost Adventures fan.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been watching them
It's
for
great,
decades.
but it's all
That
fake.
TikTok I sent you guys of like the I'm drunk
Well,
at
I
2
don't
a.m. and I want answers. It's just the intro to Ghost Adventures.
Look, man, there are
So
simply
good.
just some things
Some
in this
things are-
world that we will never understand. Understand.
Understand.
And we want answers. Answers.
Yeah, that's a good.
Oh boy.
We've been spending years building our credibility
Let's
as
move on. You're gonna get us copyright
Yeah,
strike.
that was funny. By the way, Ghost Adventures, if you're listening to this, we would love to do a collab.
Oh, I would 100% love to go ghost hunting.
Yeah,
would
honestly.
be
Dude,
so
should we
much
do
fun.
that?
No.
Honestly,
I'd be down.
I'd be so down. We should do it for an episode.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, if you guys want to see us go ghost hunting, give us 1 comment and 1 like, and we'll do it.
Me.
It
as
might
soon
not
as the
be.
video
It
uploads.
might not be anytime soon, but it's definitely gonna happen now.
Can we shoot the ghost hunting episode and then one of us just doesn't come back for like 3 weeks? We just don't comment on it.
Or we like if I'm here, just
Yeah.
talk to this like I'm still here, but I'm
Yeah.
actually not. You're just talking to my spirit.
We'll just replace Connor with the stuffed animal.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
That's a good bit.
All right, anything else? 25 years old. The Blair Witch Project.
Still
spooky.
as terrifying as it was the day it came out.
Yeah, still holds up. You can really see how its successors follow its playbook really well.
Yeah.
Well, not well, I guess, but just like how they're, how what it did led to what is here.
Yeah.
Compared to older horror films, though, are you guys surprised by how well this one still scared you?
Considering my only other option for older horror really was
Exorcist.
Exorcist, yeah.
But think like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, even before that stuff like Last House on the Left or The Hills Have Eyes, like
I think.
The Shining.
Yeah, I think it's just a different style of horror that we haven't seen, right? I mean, now that we're obviously 25 years past, we've all seen it. But I think if we were comparing like everything pre-1999, I think that's what makes it creepy. Is like it's still dated and it looks dated, but it's like just I don't know.
My next
It's a
question
weird vibe to
is,
this
have
movie.
you guys seen the Scooby-Doo Blair Witch Project?
What?
All right, next part.
All right, next
Scratch
episode.
The Twisters review.
I'm going to show you guys that as soon as we stop recording.
I'm gonna have to see this. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anything else?
I think that's all for me. Go home and cry.
Horror keeps moving on.
Or case of-
Do we, okay, before we go, last question: do we like where horror is heading? You and I
We've
have
talked about
we
this
have
a
talked
lot
about this a
before.
lot.
Yeah.
Connor,
I mean, I'm not a horror guy, so I don't really fully.
I'm
know
not a
where it's
horror guy
headed.
either.
We'll pick an answer, yes or no.
Okay, so coming from just somebody who appreciates internet's summaries and how they're made and stuff like that, without actually watching these films because I'm a pussy.
You've seen Hereditary.
That was like one out of like 50
You've seen
movies
Get
that
Out?
I've seen. I have not seen Get Out.
Okay. Why are you racist?
I don't like where this conversation's going. Anyway,
I had to do it.
it's fair. I understand.
Connor's not racist, by the way.
I'm not. Where was I going with this topic? Oh, it's just as somebody who hasn't seen these, so I can't really comment on like how good they are. I'm just like,
Yeah.
as I understand, the ideas that are coming out seem really cool. Like they don't seem as like I feel like there was a really long stretch where there was a lot of slashers, there was a lot of found footage crap, and like kind of like the same schlop almost over and over.
The torture porn.
Yeah, torture porn.
The Eli Roth, yeah.
The-
Yeah.
Eli
Whereas like
Roth.
now I feel like we're getting a lot of like new interesting ideas.
Psychological.
And maybe like they might be effectively the same concept at the end of the day. Like we're still coming back to like, thing is possessed, thing haunts you,
Yeah.
people die, her. Or even like the slasher stuff coming out where it's still just like scary person kills people. Like the way it's presented and stuff seems to be really different and unique. And
Yeah.
like so I'm kind of vibing with that. Just because I like cool stories. I like, neat ideas and new executions.
Have you seen
of them.
Halloween?
No.
I think you would like the first one. I think you would like the first of the new trilogy.
Okay.
How do you feel about that statement?
Yeah, we should show them.
I'm pretty sure I
They're
skipped
not
this
scary.
episode.
Connor,
I
they're
don't-
really not scary.
I'm never really like that scared of slashers. I'll get like the jump
Yeah.
scares, but I'm never
Yeah,
like
yeah.
terrified.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, I'm like it's psychological stuff that gets me. Like this, where it's just like pure terror, like extracted.
Yeah.
That is what creeps me out.
Yeah, you should watch Midsummer then. It's definitely none of that. Wink,
That's why I
wink.
haven't.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
I got bored of Midsummer.
Can you not do that, James?
I legitimately saw something outside. I'm just saying.
That's our shadows or our reflections.
No. It was like a piece of light. That's all.
Anyway,
I'll say this, Connor, in your defense, as someone who doesn't like horror, I've seen more horror movies from the last 10 years than I have ever in my life. Because I also think they're getting like
Better.
to where I can
Cooler,
ingest them.
Yeah.
And it's not just pure like I'm gonna scare you just for the sake of scaring you.
Yeah.
Like Conjuring, I love Conjuring. Probably my favorite horror movie, purely because I love Ed and Lorraine Warren,
Great characters.
and it's also fucking terrifying. And I always get jump scared, even though I've seen that movie probably like 5 times.
That is one of those film series where I was like, I'm never gonna do it.
They're so good.
I've had a
Connor.
couple girlfriends who are way into horror stuff be like, we're gonna watch The Conjuring, and I was like, no, I'm putting my foot down. Like, I'm not doing it.
We're gonna watch this for Halloween this year.
No, we're not.
At least
Fine.
the first one.
I'm not.
The first one is so good.
I was like, I'm not doing it.
We'll watch it we'll watch it at like noon on a Saturday.
Isaac,
We'll open the blinds. It'll be October. We'll make like hot chocolate or something.
You're not going to convince him on camera, but we will do Insidious.
We are gonna do it. We're gonna have
Maybe.
to eventually.
if
We can't go a whole spooky season not doing spooky. Like, do you not know
no,
anything
we
about
can
this
do other
podcast?
spooky movies. I don't care. I'm not
Okay,
doing Conjuring.
Conjuring 2.
Maybe.
We got him. We got him. That's a yes in my book. You don't know what you just signed yourself up for, buddy.
I'm not gonna be a part of this podcast. Is what I'm hearing. Guys, I'm taking a month-long
Any
trip.
last closing remarks before we go?
Watch The Blair Witch if you have not.
Yes, I would recommend it. It's a good.
Happy 25th birthday.
Yeah, removing the
As
scary
of-
aspect, still good film.
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be pretty close.
Yeah.
End of the month. So, if they want to see more scary stuff, where should they go, Connor?
Me?
Yeah.
Where would they go, James?
Watch our Alien series. I don't know.
Oh, I was thinking the Instagram.
No. James plugs the Instagram. You plug the Alien
alright.
series.
Yeah, if you guys want to watch,
You now read the notes.
no, you don't give me any. You kicked it in the lake.
I did kick it in the lake.
If you guys want to watch more of Isaac and I freaking out,
Don't talk to me. Talk to the camera.
right? Go watch our Alien episodes. The last one, good stuff. We got scared. We got scared pretty hard.
We got very spooked.
We also grew
got
some
stuck
grew
a little
hair
bit,
and started
but,
running around. But yeah, it was a good time.
Made a little bit of progress.
So yeah, so go watch our Alien stuff. Recommend other games for us to play. Maybe not scary ones. Please, not scary ones.
Make sure to check out our review of Twisters after this. Exciting stuff. You guys haven't seen it yet at this
Yeah, I mean,
recording.
It's a great
So-
film. I haven't seen.
I've seen it.
I know that I'm gonna enjoy it just because Hot Men. But
I will
you
say
know.
this. A new character definitely just dropped. James, if they want more updates, where should they go?
Go on.
Check out us on Instagram, hitplay.pod. We post clips. We let you know when we upload new episodes.
Isaac sometimes posts surveys in the stories because he's bored.
Hey, it's all about the interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, comment, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube,
Hit the goddamn bell.
Hit the bell.
or the Blair Witch will get you.
All right, we're up.
What the fuck is that?